Welcome to the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yance. This is episode 5, and I am talking about the 2019 film Ready or Not. I am going to discuss the film itself, its production, its cast, its crew, the costumes, the reception, and the perception I believe this film will leave. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I would like to talk about why I chose this film. See, I saw this film originally in August of 2019, last year. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. And then I caught it on HBO in May of 2020, and I fell in love with it. And I just was like, wow, this is such an amazing work of art. And then I started to think about it, and I realized I need to talk about this. I need to go into depth with this. So I did a bunch of research. I had no idea how intricate the costumes were, that the music was done this way, how the cinematographer filmed and was trying to catch the action. I thought those were all great little things that I didn't know about until I did my research. I didn't know that Fox Searchlight's pictures actually suggested a lot of the cast. Also, I would like to apologize for mispronouncing the name of the cinematographer. His name is Brett Jukowitz. And I'd also like to talk about a scene that I didn't get a chance to talk about. Well, it's not really a scene, it's a line that Steven says when he's trying to find the girl. He's trying to find Grace. And he says, "Don't worry, sir, I'll find her. She's escaped, but I'll find her." And then he adds, "I'll fix the fence tomorrow." I love the idea that he's all about duty. Like, oh yes, I'm going to find the girl, but I'm also going to fix the fence tomorrow. There is nothing to worry about. So those are just a couple of things about why I picked this. So, production. This was a spec script from Guy Busick and R. Christopher Murphy, also known as Ryan Murphy. This, I believe, is their first script together, and they had the idea of a Rosemary's Baby as their inspiration. It was produced by Trip Vinson, James Vanderbilt, William Sherrock, and Bradley J. Fisher. James Vanderbilt, I believe, shopped the script to many different directors, and they landed on Radio Silence. They originally passed on them, and then they chose Radio Silence to be the director, which is the team of Matt Bettinelli-Olpin, Tyler Gillette, and Chad Villella. Now, they did a film called Southbound, which was a success. Matt and Tyler are the directors, and Chad is one of the producers. Usually does executive producing. The principal photography began on October 15th, 2018, and ended on November 19th, 2018. It was a 26-day shoot, so there's a fast turnaround. Not a lot of takes. They had a $6 million budget. They filmed in Toronto, Canada. They filmed on the Parkwood Estate, which is where they filmed Billy Madison. They also filmed in Casa Loma. This is where they filmed a lot of the hallway scenes. And the YWCA, this is where the dining room was used. So, that's what I have to say about the production. I think the production was top-notch, and let's move on. Let's talk about the cast. First on the list is Grace Ladomas, who is played by Samara Weaving. She is an Australian actress, and her uncle is Hugo Weaving. I saw her the first time in 3 Billboards, and I thought she was an amazing actress. She was also in Ash vs. the Evil Dead, also The Babysitter. Now I want to talk a little bit about Grace Ladomas, who is a character and the main character in this film. And she is the protagonist. We see everything kind of through her eyes. And we are led to believe throughout the film that she grew up through foster care, so she's never really had a family. So her big wish in life is to have a family. So in this film, she gets a family, and we have the dynamic of the woman with no family against the ultimate family. And I think that adds a unique aspect to this film. Also, I love how she always rises to the occasion. Grace is such a likable character. We see her go through all these changes, but we always see Grace throughout the film. Some aspect of her. Moving on. Let's talk about Daniel Ladomas, who is played by Adam Brody. First time I saw him was in the OC, and I thought he was great in Jennifer's Body. He's turned into an amazing actor. He's got such a raw talent of just really sitting in the scene and letting us see the scene through his eyes. I find Daniel Ladomas to be an interesting character to play because he is a character who is almost at the brink of collapse. He's wondering, is there anything good left in me? I married the wrong woman. I have the wrong family. I have all this money. I'm not happy. I'm an alcoholic. I'm watching my brother marry this woman, and now my brother has to watch his wife be murdered. Those are really unique aspects to play with. Alex Ladomas, who is the man who is marrying Grace Ladomas, is played by Mark O'Brien. He's a Canadian actor. He was in The Arrival, The Front Runner, Bad Times at El Royale. I like the little sensibilities he brings to Alex. And he, in his own words, he said, you always see this rage underneath. There's always something underneath him. So that when he goes through his turn in this film, it feels justified because it's always been planted at the very beginning. He's running away from his family. The only reason he really needs Grace, who he's only known for like a year and a half, is because he wants to escape. He's got these like almost abandonment issues. Doesn't want anyone to leave him. But he's still fearful of what could happen if he doesn't go through this whole ritual. So he has to bring her to the house. But through that, we see the family slowly take him back because he's supposed to be the man who's going to lead the family. And I just thought Mark did such a stunning job with the way he played that character. It could have been just a bland character, but he really rose to the occasion. Tony Ladomas is played by Henry Czerny. The first time I saw him was in Mission Impossible, and he's a well-trained actor, a theater actor, a thespian, so to speak. And Tony is the man who's trying to keep everything together. He's the patriarch. But he has no idea how to deal with this situation. And it's really interesting to see Henry play those aspects of him just getting more frustrated with the way the night is going because they can't seem to take her out. And he's like, well, I can't believe this. At one point he says he has a tea time at 8. They weren't expecting to do this. They thought this was going to be quick and fast, and it isn't. It's lasted the whole night, and I thought Henry played that just to the T. And I even found out that he found a Latin speaker, someone who knows Latin, to tell him how to speak the Latin when he comes up to the scenes. There's also a scene where he's getting choked, and he actually had Mark O'Brien actually choke him, so that when he falls down, he's almost gasping for air. So, terrific job on that. And I heard the stunt coordinator was furious with that. Andie MacDowell plays Becky Ladomas. Becky Ladomas is an interesting character, but let's talk a little bit about Andie MacDowell. What can I say? She's Andie MacDowell. She's been in Groundhog Day, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Magic Mike XXL, Sex Lies and Videotapes. You name it, she's done it. And this is her first time doing a horror film. And I thought she just passed with flying colors. Now she plays Becky, very sincere and like she's taking care of everything, but there's a lot of comedy, that quick quips that she lets out. But in some ways you can see she really wants to win her son back. She wants her son back. That's what she needs. Emily Ladomas, who is played by Melanie Scrofano, a Canadian actress, and she's the star in the sci-fi series Winona Earp, or it airs on the Sci-Fi Network, at least in the United States. She does an impressive job with this character, because Emily is like the little girl that obviously got everything she wanted. She's daddy's little girl, and the first time we see her, she's got cocaine on her nose, underneath her nose. So she's just going through life. Also, she's a mom. A lot of things going on there. She doesn't know. She just wants to really make her family happy. She just doesn't know how, because she's kind of a mess. Fitch Bradley, Emily's husband, who's played by Christian Brun. He was in Orphan Black. He's a great improv actor. I heard that he really came up with all these great ideas and things to do. Such good stuff. And Fitch Bradley is an interesting character, because Fitch Bradley is a character who likes being rich, but he is not really into this whole sacrifice ceremony. There's one point where he's Googling how to do that, or he's Googling how to use his crossbow. A little side note here, the writers are the ones showing him the tutorial that he's kind of watching, I assume on YouTube. He's watching a video on how to do a crossbow. But the way he plays Fitch Bradley is just this guy who's just, I'm happy, I'm enjoying life, I'm rich, I've got everything I need, let's just have a good time in some ways. So I thought that was great. Elise Levesque plays Charity Ladomas. She was on Smallville, she was in the originals, she was acting from a young age. So she brought a nice dynamic to Charity, because Charity, we find out through Adam Brody's character that, she was willing to go through this bet flying colors. She could have cared less. She was willing to sell her soul away immediately, because Charity's whole thing is she fights for herself. She came from apparently nothing, probably a drug-addled addiction, broken home, and this was her saving grace. And we see that all in the surface, that this woman will kill to get what she wants. Nikki Guadagni, an amazing theater actor, well trained, just like Henry Czerny is. Well trained. She was in the film Lars and the Real Girl, the original Cube. She's done countless theater productions. Amazing actress, extraordinary work. And she plays Helene Ledomas, who is the woman who we see at the very beginning had to kill her husband to do this situation. He's the first time we see the hide and seek go through. So she knows, she's been living with this idea that this could happen again. And the only regret she really has is that she didn't do it herself. She didn't kill him. That she was a hysterical wreck. So she's almost paying penance. She wants to make this right. And she knows that Alex is the one to lead the family. And she's dressed in this purple gown. She's got like this shark fin, and I'll talk about the clothes a little bit later on, but I thought just a stunning way to play this character. John Ralston plays Stevens, the Ledomas butler. He was in Rain and Bitten. The way he plays this character is always, I always want to do the best job I can. I need to be the best I can because the family needs me. They need me to there's one point where he has a teapot smashed over his head with hot water on it. He's got a scar on his face. Never once do we see him cleaning his face up. He's just out for the mission. He will do anything to get there. Plus, he loves the song 1812. He hums it, and then he plays it in the car. And he sings it. So, nice little touches there. The last character I really want to talk about in depth is the one that Nat Faxon plays. And he is the guy, he is Justin on the trip save. He's the employee in the car when she's gotten the car away from Stevens and she's driving away, and Nat Faxon, who I should let you know is actually an Academy Award winner, he helped write the screenplay to The Descendants. So they got an Academy Award winner to play this little role, which I wanted to add that Fox Searchlights had a great deal of suggesting a lot of these people. They suggested Samara Weaving. They wanted Adam Brody. They helped a great deal with the casting. But back to Nat Faxon. Nat Faxon plays the trip save employee, Justin, and she's like screaming at him, and he's like, "Oh, how can I help you, sir?" You know, and she's like, "I need you to call the police." He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I believe this car is stolen. I'm gonna have to shut it down." She's like, No, don't shut the car down. Don't shut the car down." And she's screaming at him. And he's like, "Okay, how can I help you any further?" And she's like, "Yeah, go screw yourself, Justin." Because he's basically useless. But Nat Faxon just hit that nail on the head for that character. Two other people I wanted to mention. Liam MacDonald, who plays one of the children. Celine Say, a maid. Great works. So that is what I have to say about the cast. The crew. Marvelous crew. Let's start with the director, or as they like to be called, Radio Silence, which is made up of Matt Bettinelli, Olpen, Tyler Gillette, and Chad Villella. Chad Villella is the producer. Matt Bettinelli, Olpen, is the director, along with Tyler Gillette. And they've worked on, they did a film called VHS, they did Southbound. They've worked together over and over. The writers, Guy Busick and Ryan Murphy. This, I believe, is their first script. They worked on Castle Rock. Guy Busick is writing Scream 5, along with James Vanderbilt, I believe, who is also a producer on this film. He is the producer who shopped this around to a lot of different directors. This film was shopped to different directors. And they first passed on radio silence. And then they came back to them. Now, James Vanderbilt was a writer. He wrote the film The Rundown, a 2003 film starring The Rock, probably my favorite Rock film. He also wrote The Amazing Spider-Man with, well, everybody hates that film except for me. Brett Jutakis, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He was the cinematographer. He did The Preppy Connection. He worked on Dark Matter. He brought a unique style with the camera, of the camera always trying to find the action, as opposed to setups where the camera is just there and you're seeing the action. The camera is like almost trying to find things. I thought that was really interesting idea. Very interesting idea. Terrell Gibson, he was the editor. He also edited the film Sorry to Bother You. I thought the edits were quick, fast. When they saw the assembly cut, they were like, oh wow, we have a film. Because they only had a 26-day shoot, so there was a fast turnaround here. But Terrell Gibson, amazing job with the editing. Shocking, almost. Andrew M. Stern, he was the production designer. He was the art director in The Incredible Hulk, for you MCU fans. Andrew M. Stearns brought a unique color in the way he decorated the sets with the animal horns and the doors that had this like devil-looking figure, like on all the board games. That was kind of like their logo. Ingenious stuff. Really sets the mood. I thought the production design was top-notch. Laura Hochstad, the assistant art director, she came up with all the games for the Domas family. I've heard La Domas and I've heard La Domas. We're just going to say La Domas. The Domas family, she was the assistant art director, and her job was to come up with all the games. All the little games that you see at the very beginning of the film. And they had to clear a lot of them. I think they cleared 8, and the other 19 they didn't clear. Avery Plewis was the costume designer. She was the costume buyer for Molly's Game, and I love her instincts for this film, which will lead us to our next segment, costumes. Costumes. Avery Plewis did an amazing job dressing each character. It gets its own segment. Just the use of colors, the way she made everybody look different with the way they're dressed, just perfect stuff. Let's start with Grace's wedding dress. There were 24 dresses used on this film. Her inspiration for this film was Die Hard as a reference. And if you've ever seen Die Hard, Bruce Willis's character starts off with a clean tank top shirt. And as the film goes on, it gets dirtier and bloodier and ripped and more to where it's like doesn't even exist anymore. And that was her idea for this wedding gown. Just all the stuff that it was going through. She even used a flow chart. The hero dress, which is the first stage of the dress, was inspired by Kate Middleton's dress. It's 5 pieces, a lace top, a skirt, a corset, a skirt liner, and a silk sash. Stage 2, the rip dress. It's made of a tulle material. This is when she rips her dress after it gets caught on like a nail on the dumbwaiter, and she's got to, move around. She's like, I got to fight. Stage 3, the goat dress. This is when she falls into the goat pit. She's all dirty and probably smells awful. Her dress is a shade darker for when she's coming out. Also, there's one point where she rips the dress and uses it as a tourniquet. She couldn't actually really do that because the dress is material that just doesn't rip like that. Stage 4 is the fighting dress. This is when she uses her silk sash and it becomes a weapon, and she also rips the back when she's trying to get through a fence. Stage 5, a bloody dress. This is just blood all over her because all the bodies have exploded and they all fall on her and she's just covered in blood. The shoes. Grace wears Chuck Taylors. Now, Converse stopped making that yellow color. So she took some gray shoes and they custom painted these shoes with yellow that Avery Plewis came up with the color. And it's yellow. It adds a real unique look to the dress when she's running around. She said she hopes that there will be cosplay Ready or Not weddings. Alex's tux is navy blue. Alex's character, he's going to be in the film a lot. She didn't want him to just fade into the background with grays and dark things, but she knows how horror film is going to be lit. So kudos to her for navy blue, because it makes it stand out. It's Ben Sherman tux as well. Becky, Andie MacDowell's character, wears a navy blue dress to match her son. It's a very simple dress. It shows the alliance between the two. They used to be friends. They used to really matter to each other. And like I said, Becky wants her son back. Tony is wearing a custom shirt with a high boy collar, with a tie and a vest. And to top it off, with a Dolce & Gabbana jacket. The jacket looks like a playing card, and the studio loved that, because it looks like he's a card. He's the one that gives the card, and he looks like a card. So, hats off to that. Daniel wears kind of dandy clothes. It's a plum color. He's got the untied bow tie. He's got a blue shirt. It's, he kind of is just like, I'm just wearing this outfit. I can't wait to get out of it. The untied bow tie, he's just like, ugh. When do I get out of these clothes? Fitch Bradley, he's just wearing a classic tux, peak lapel. Emily wears a very kind of bohemian look, but they layered her outfit so that it kind of looks designer. The idea for the couple was the cool it girl with the douchey frat boy. That's a funny phrase. I love it. Charity is just wearing a simple silk dress. It looks like silk to me. I'm not quite sure on that, but it's just a nice gown. Helene, her hair is like a shark fin from Jaws. This gray just pokes right out at you. And she's wearing purple, which they took from a Cardinals uniform. Great touches all around. I can't say enough about the costumes. When I watch this film, it makes me want to go, I kind of want that, and I like that, and I like those colors. I always love watching the costumes. And hearing how much detail went into the costumes just makes me very happy. So I want to say thank you, Avery Plewis, for your impeccable job with dressing the cast. Thank you. Music. Brian Tyler did the score for this film. He has worked on Avengers Age of Ultron, Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Crazy Rich Asians, some of the Fast and the Furious films. If you look at the very opening scene, he really sets the tone for the film with his score. And what I love about Brian Tyler's scores is it's not obtrusive. It's not invading. If you're not really paying attention in the film you won't really notice the music. The music is flowing in sync with the action. It's very subtle. And I like that about Brian Tyler's scores. You can hear that in Thor, The Dark World, as well as Iron Man 3 and Avengers Age of Ultron. It just flows through it, but it really leaves the action where it needs to go. I'm a big fan of Brian Tyler's scores, so I thought he was a great get for this film. The Gifted is a production team that the directors worked with on Southbound. And they arranged for the Hide and Seek song, which has this old-timey feel like a kid's song. But it's almost got a creepy element to it, where you're like, not sure, like, where did this come from? It sounds like something from The Shining, at the very end of The Shining, that song that plays. It has that remnants there, because we see the song when they're all getting ready. They're all arming up with guns. These millionaires, these rich people holding weapons, guns, and they have no idea what they're doing. And then we come back to it at the end of the film where we see them exploding, which is done for comedy. So it's a nice juxtaposition. It's amazing work. The Love Me Tender song was done by a band called Stereo Jane. That's also done by The Gifted. And they've got this band who brought this really cool, like, punk take on it, and it has this thing. For a lot of people know Love Me Tender as an Elvis song. But Stereo Jane took it and twisted it around. For me personally, I know the song from Wild at Heart, from the film with David Lynch, where Nicolas Cage plays it at the end of the film. So it's real significance in that film. So for some it's Elvis, for me it's David Lynch. In the car that drives off and tells Grace, get out of the road, this is a band by Matt's friend's band. The Soft White 60s is the name of the band, and the song is Number One. The last song I would like to talk about is 1812, and that's playing when Stevens has captured Grace. Everything's great, and he's listening to it, and he's almost orchestrating and playing it there. He has no idea that he's about to get kicked in the back of the head by Grace. And the family is watching, and they're like, hey, turn around! So, great use of music. I love the music in this film. Let's talk about some of the scenes in the film. One of my favorite scenes is not the very beginning, but when she's saying her vows in the mirror and her husband, or soon-to-be husband, is looking at her. It's a nice scene because it shows a contrast from what is about to happen. It's all light and it's pretty, and then we smash cut to the wedding and we hear Beethoven's Ninth. And I like that little touch there. I don't know, for a Clockwork Orange fan like myself, whenever I hear the Ninth Symphony, especially that part of the Ninth Symphony, I go straight to that film. And I like how it shows, all the wedding guests, and we see the maids, and they're all dressed in these gothic black dresses. Also, nice little fact there, she's smoking one of those herbal cigarettes at the very beginning. But I just love that, little twist on it. Really sets up where it is. My next favorite scene is the layout of the whole game. And when they're all in the room and they're all sitting around the table and Tony is explaining Mr. LaBelle and the deal, and that each member of the family has to, when a new member of the family comes in, they have to play a game. And she's got to put the card in. And when she pulls the card hide and seek, the look on Adam Brody and Mark O'Brien, that they have this realization that they know where this is going. And it sets the whole film up with their relationship there. And then they tell her, she gets to go hide. And she just thinks this is a fun little game, having no idea that they are going to try and kill her. And then we hear the hide and seek song. And the hide and seek song is great. It's such a juxtaposition of what's happening. Here they are, they're arming themselves to the teeth with rifles and battle axes. And here's Grace, I'm going to go hide in the little dumbwaiter. Everything's going to be fine. Having no idea that these people are going to try to murder her. So I love that setup there, because it just adds such a cool little dynamic. And the final shot of them all holding their weapons with the lanterns, like, all right, here we go. These people who the writers said probably have never even changed a tire in their life, they're going to go and kill someone because of a pact that was made long ago. They have no idea how to use these weapons. None. They don't know what they're doing. But they're forced to do this. And here's this woman who comes from foster care, and she's going to be facing the ultimate family. But because she's grown up on the streets and has gone from foster care and is probably a tough cookie, she's got the tattoos and everything, she's gonna rise to the occasion. Next favorite scene, when Stevens has her in the car and he's listening to 1812 and he's just orchestrating to the music, and he looks out the window and he's like, ha! He has no idea that in back of him, Grace is regaining her bearings. She's getting up. She's getting ready to kick the face of Stevens and finish the job. And you see the family, and they're watching this from a little phone. And he's like, Steven, turn the music down. Turn the music down. It's too late. She kicks them once, kicks them twice. The car flips over. Boom. And then the video ends, and you see Tony just scream like, ah! Like this gave me. Because Tony just keeps getting angry and angry and angry through this film, and it's not in this scene, but in one of my favorite scenes, he's looking at it, he's going, look, oh, you think that the Van Horns died for that? Well, they died in a fire, but you don't want to know how they died. And he makes a little offside code. He's like, nobody was planning to do this. I have a tea time at 8. It's so great. And he screams, we are all effing effed. I'm trying to keep this PG, so I don't want to curse. But the way he does it is so delightful. Oh, awesome. Now, my favorite scene. Probably my favorite scene. I don't know, I love all those scenes that I just mentioned, but the ending. Now, in the original ending, Grace dies. It was going to be a dark ending, but it was radio silence that came to, the student said, I think we need to change the ending. This is not what this film is. This film is a crowd pleaser. And so they changed the ending. And they wanted to use practical effects, so they set up a rig that was going to explode so that the bodies would explode, and they had a meat cannon gun with banana, and the blood they use is kind of caramel tasting and stuff. And so when they all, at the very end, when after Alex has turned, and he has this great scene where he's grabbing her head, and he's like, you're going to leave me. and he turns. And Samara Weaving said that his eyes actually turned black. So that's some great acting right there. And he's got her on the thing. He's gonna stab her. And she gets up. And she's just got holding the knife. She's like this little banshee, cornered animal, like, don't touch me. I'm gonna kill every one of you. And then they see that the sun is out. And they're all like kind of like vampires, like, oh no. And then there's this long break. And they're like, wait a minute. Nothing's happening. And Fitch goes, I knew it. I knew it. There was nothing there. And Helene grabs the axe and says, I know that we have failed. The girl still dies. Oh, boom! Explosion. And Fitch realizes, he's like, oh, I think you're right. Explode. And Henry Czerny has the greatest look on his face, like, oh no, this, really? No, I'm sad. And we see Charity just like, no, oh please, I want to be, I don't want to do this. She explodes. And then the two kids and Melanie go and they explode. And you've got all this explosion going on, the hide and seek song comes back on, adding comedy. And we see Grace is laughing and she does like a little snort. It's all of them exploding. And Tony has the greatest, like, he grabs the box and says, no! I played by the rules and I'm in charge. And boom, he explodes. And all that's left is Alex and Grace, who has turned on his bride, and his bride doesn't want anything to do with him. And she tells him, I want a divorce. Slowly pulls off the ring, throws him, and he explodes. And that's the end of the film. And then the next scene, we see her crawling through. Well, actually, we see Mr. LaBelle kind of gives her a little nod, like, well done. Well done, little girl. Who's actually played by James Vanderbilt. It's a great little nod. And then we see her coming out as the place is burning. And here she is, having a cigarette. And they all come up to her and they're like, are you okay? Are you okay? And she goes, in-laws. Now, some think that she might be okay. I don't think it's going to work out too well for Grace because the whole house is filled with blood. Maybe it's burning, but there are no witnesses. That's not going to just go over everybody's head. So Grace may not be having the best time. I don't know. Maybe they'll do a sequel. But those are some of my favorite scenes, some of my favorite little facts that I found. And yeah, that's my scenes. Thank you. Let's talk about the reception this film had. This film did really well. It cost $6 million to make, and it made $57.6 million at the box office. Critics liked it, and audiences. It made $11 million in its first 5 days. It was well received. Now this team, the directors, one of the writers, and some of the producers are helming Scream 5. That's a huge get. If this film was not successful, or as successful as it was, I don't know if they'd be helming that film. So hats off to them. That's a great film to make. So Scream 5 is the next film from this team. The perception I believe this film will leave is this film will hopefully be remembered well. I love it. Audiences love it. It came out in a time where more films were playing off this theme, which was going to happen. This was the first of the kill the wealth, kill the rich. This came out before Joker, Parasite, and Knives Out. And now look at where the world is. We kind of are looking at it. Look at the rebellion we're seeing with celebrities and things that have happened online. We are seeing a huge rebellion in the class structure in this country of the United States, especially. And I think this film kind of predicted a lot of those things to happen. Because let's look at, once again, we have Ready or Not, we have Knives Out. Look at the film that just came out a couple of months ago, The Hunt, which is about right-wing people hunting left-wing people. You're seeing it all around. So this film kind of predicted that. That's about all I have to say about this film. I love this film. I've grown to love it even more. Every time I watch it, I learn something new. I want to say thank you to the cast and the crew who made this unbelievable piece of art. Just incredible stuff. And I can't thank them enough for allowing me to see this work of art. So that does it for this episode. As always, you can reach me at my handle, Justin Yachts. You can reach me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Just put in my name and you'll find me. So I will see you next week. And you will be hearing me next week on the DMF. Thank you.